Good morning and a very warm welcome to you. Karibu tena sana back to K24. If you're just joining us, well, we have some very special guests in studio to talk about home ownership, and that is what we want to focus on, money and finance today. Home ownership, different ways, of course, of owning a home, mortgaging, renting, buying, building. So we want to discuss that and much more, and that is why I am joined by ladies first. Salline Onoka, how are you doing?
I'm good, thank you for having me.
Karibu tena sana. We also have Mr. Abraham Muthogo. You've been here a couple of times and you're an economist. Karibu tena sana. And I see nywele imekataa kumea ama wewe ndo unanyonga kila siku. Una scrub. Amazing. Martin Njoroge as well, the CEO of Nyumbani Concepts. Good morning.
Good morning.
Karibu tena sana to the show.
Asante sana.
All right. Nice to have you guys. And I want us to focus, or rather to go straight into the meat of the matter, where we are talking about home ownership. But before we do that, let me ask the folks at home about the question of the day. And this is what I want us to focus on as far as your feedback is concerned. Is it easy to own a home in Kenya? Is it easy to own a home in Kenya? So you can find us on Twitter, Facebook, and all our social media pages at K24TV, and you can also SMS us on 21222. So let us know, is it easy to own a home in Kenya? If it is difficult in terms of the processes, if it is difficult in terms of getting the right place where you can own this home or where you can own this land, please let us know. And if you're already in the process also, would like to know how easy or difficult it was for you to get there. I will definitely sample some of that feedback as of Nyumbani Concepts. How easy or hard is it? Let me ask you that question. How easy or hard is it to own a home in Kenya?
Basically what it means by affordable housing or home ownership, it's supposed to be an easy process.
Right.
But you find that the dynamics in Kenya are rather different, because like owning a piece of property in Kenya is very difficult. The land right now is viewed as a commodity where you can buy and sell it later for profit.
Right.
So it becomes really difficult for Kenyans to own a home. So your question is really difficult. But
so the answer rather to that question is that it's really difficult.
Yes.
Wow. All right. Salline, you tell me. Builders and Co-Creators on Facebook, that's the name of your page?
Yes,
all right.
The name of the group is called Builders and Co-Creators, and we've had this discussion before.
And
But to your question, home ownership in Kenya is difficult. Unnecessarily so. There could be models that could be supported by the system, the government, the public sector and the private sector and the financial sector.
Right.
But I do not think that enough has been done. A lot of Kenyans feel that they can own homes. A lot of Kenyans want to own homes. There is a need and a gap for homes.
All right.
And there is money lying somewhere. But there is a problem in bridging the gap. I don't think that the government and the financial institutions are doing enough to address the need for housing.
Okay.
So yes, it is difficult. Is it doable? It is doable. Can it improve? Yes, it can improve. Has it been done? No, it hasn't been done.
Okay. Two people have said that it's difficult. I don't know. Mr. Economist, Abraham, do you agree or disagree with their statements?
Well, okay. First of all, let me put this into context. Why do people want to own homes? They want to own homes as a form of security.
Okay.
And they want to own homes that they feel secure, probably in their old age, when their income will diminish. So it means that if our income or our cash flow was guaranteed to the end of your life, then the need, the desire, the morbid desire to own a home would diminish.
Okay.
Why? Because if I have a cash flow, I don't necessarily have to own. Because for a house, it is the beneficial use. It's not the ownership that you want. You want to have a house that is functional, that you can do. But having said that, I think home ownership in Kenya is, I think we've not gotten to a point where we define what is necessary in terms of functionally what is the size of a home that I need, especially for the low end. Okay. For the low end, we want to say, what is a functional house for a person at the low end?
All right.
How big should the living room be? Do they need one bedroom, two bedroom? Then if we do that, and as they have alluded, what models, if you go to our building code, does it support an affordable house?
Yes.
And when you say affordable, what exactly do we mean? You see, in the context of the income of this country.
Okay.
But again, we cannot wish away government intervention, because the government has the capacity to influence policy.
Right.
to reduce, for example, the approval
Cost of
regime,
building,
the cost of building in terms of, like for example, the approval regime. For you to get approvals here at City Hall, you almost have to shed tears. You see?
Shed tears?
Yes, because of the number of doors you have to knock, the number of places you have to go to get the approvals. That's one end. The other thing is the cost of putting up.
All right.
Like the cost of cement, the cost of sand. They could be lower. And why are those people selling it higher to you? They're selling it higher to you because their costs are also higher, like the cost of power. You see,
So the cost of producing the cement.
the cost of cement is what is eventually showing. So what are we saying? We're saying that the cost of production of materials and the cost of compliance in terms of the building regime is what eventually filters into the ultimate cost of that home.
Let me ask Martin a question here in regards to what he's saying in terms of the cost of the materials and cost of the paint and so on and so forth. First of all, people when they want to own a home, they say, nataka kununua kashamba, pale hivyo Kitengela, nianze kujenga. But they don't factor in all that. They think that if I have 3 million, I will have a bungalow that is, 4 or 5 bedrooms big. But the reality on the ground, as they say, vitu ni different on the ground. First of all, is it true?
What you've said is very true. Things on the ground are rather different. Because you'll find, like, let's say, this is how we've been socialized. The journey towards prosperity starts at home ownership. So everybody you find, there's something pushing you here that if you got some bit of amount of money today, the first thing you think is buying a property or building a house or buying a house.
Yes.
But you find the process is rather crazy. I would call it crazy. Because there's no lead to it. Okay? Price of land, like if you find in Kitengela 10 years ago, it's quite affordable. Yes. I see people buying worthless piece of property just by the virtue of somebody has built a toilet on it, or they have dumped a few lorries of stone or sand, and they assume that the price in that area for the land has gone up.
Okay.
So you find this is quite challenging to many people. So the other thing you asked is the cost of now building
the house.
The house. So I think the government is not doing enough because for a first-time homeowner, there should be some sort of, I'll call it, there should be incentives.
Yes.
Right? If you want to buy a house, the government should exempt you from some taxes. Right? And this will actually see a lot of people being able to afford these kind of houses.
Right.
So actually, I think the buck stops with the government.
Right.
They need to come out and do something about it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let me ask you, because this is an example of houses from all over the world. We've just seen houses on a lake or in the ocean. We are seeing houses made of containers. I mean, people have different options, right? And in your group of builders and co-creators on Facebook that has about, 500,000 followers? I don't know, are all those people homeowners? Are they renting, or it's a mixture of people?
It's a mixture, but it represents home ownership in this country. More people there are renting, but a lot of people there are homeowners or aspiring homeowners or building enthusiasts. So people who wish to be informed about home ownership, how they can go about it, what options are there.
That
about
is where
technology.
they find all that information.
Yes. So a lot of people are not really active builders right now, but they want to be, or they are planning, but they are soaking in the information in the page and just comparing costs and checking what other people have done and seeing what options there are. Okay. So yes, they are building enthusiasts, but most of them obviously are still renters.
Then let's talk about renting for a minute, because it seems like building might cost me more than renting, because if I'm paying, say, roughly 20,000 a month in rent, then it's cheaper for me if I am earning, say, 100,000 Kenya shillings to pay rent worth 20 Gs. Then I have some 80,000, and this is after tax, some 80,000 to play around with, as opposed to having to mortgage for the next 30 years, for instance, paying exorbitant amounts, and all these interest rates keep on fluctuating and so on and so forth. People are preferring now to rent more than even thinking about buying those homes.
I don't know if it's about preference or ability, because a lot of people want to buy a house round about the same time that they're having children, and then there are other expenses about school. And if they go at their places of work and they get some salary increment and they go to the bank, the pre-qualification is very tedious and it's very almost punitive, you know. I come and say that, look, my income together with my husband is, say, 200,000 shillings. But the banks, a lot of banks want my income only. And you see, they tell me we cannot take more than, say, 30% of your of your income. Yeah. And I'm telling them, look, I'm ready to eat sukuma wiki for the next 3 months or until kingdom come.
Yes.
For me to be in, and they say, no. Yeah. Then they're in our risk and we're not willing to go into that with you.
Yes.
And then even if I qualify, or there is a bank now that's giving, you know, like joint mortgage.
Yeah.
And then, you know, a lot of them say, oh, pay 10% and then we'll finance the 90.
Yes.
That's not the only expense that's there. Then suddenly I realize I need 4% stamp duty. Then I need lawyers' fees. Then I need valuation fees. And then, you know, I start thinking that if the house was 10 million, I don't just need 1 million. I probably need 2. So where is the 2 coming from? Obviously, they'll tell you, take an unsecured loan for that. But you see, that already reduces my ratio, which then means that I cannot afford the house I want. And then I decide, you know what? I will rent for 25,000 shillings for the rest of my life because anyway, I have a child or 2 that's going to school. So it's a bit complicated. And a lot of people who are renting, therefore, are people who would like to own. But the infrastructure and the support is just lacking. The model for house ownership in this country is such that you either have it or you don't. Yeah. You don't get support. You know, that private-public sector partnership where, for instance, where you pay rent and eventually own the house is lacking. It used to be there when I was a child. I think National Housing Corporation used to have that sort of model, but I don't know where it went.
But I think I've seen a lot of billboards saying rent to own, but that's besides the point, which we shall tackle in a few.
Yeah.
The whole concept of the economy, the way she's described it and the way he has described it, it seems like we're doomed rather to rent for the rest of our lives, especially for us young guys who just cleared campus the other day, are now getting our first jobs. And we are looking to now, nimepata kamshahara, but I still want to buy my first Subaru or my first, I don't know, a Toyota Premio. And then now, nifikiria stories za keja. Lakini, if I hear these stories now, I'm like, you know what? It's never that serious. Me and my 2-bedroom in Langata, we are good. Isn't this what is going to happen to this generation then?
You see, yes, if you look at like now, how many mortgages do you have in Kenya? We have about 28,000 only.
28,000 mortgages?
Only.
Out of a population of 47 million.
And don't forget, out of that 28 million,
yeah,
a good fraction of those are just bankers who have concessional, concessional mortgages. So the actual number is much lower. Now, she has said something very interesting, because even me, where I grew up in Umoja, my dad owned that house through a rent-to-own model.
Okay.
And the rent was so affordable, I didn't see him struggle. It was a 25-year.
Yeah.
So that model has worked before. Because the best thing to do something is to reverse engineer it. You say, oh, I want a house this much, then go backwards and see how much can somebody afford monthly and work something with that.
So it's just simple mathematics.
Yes, it can be done. But now, it's not that simple, because now if you go the mortgage way, for a mortgage, every million, you're probably paying 15,000 to 20,000 for every million. Okay. So you see, by the time you're getting to your 5th million, you're already who has 100,000 to pay. So that explains to you why it is that way. But again, the cost of building, the cost of putting up housing, the cost of approvals can only come so low. Now, if once it gets to its threshold, to its lowest threshold, yes, for you to get to this now, the other thing that needs to happen, we also need to increase on the level of household income, because that is the other problem.
The way she was talking about the husband.
Yes, our level of income per capita is still low, and maybe we need to accept that maybe it is lower than what is critical for you to own a home. Yes, that's what we don't want to say. So part of the solution is, how do we bring up Kenyans to a level where their income is high enough for them to have these options on the table? Right. Because these options are not on the table for most people. Okay. Say it as it is.
Yeah. Yes. But speaking about household income and how much money can go into credit, I think over time the credit regimen is going to change. I think the financial institution is going to grow in such a way that there is more credit products out there But you mentioned people who've just left college, and I have a particular focus, personal focus on these people.
Okay.
And I see their attitude towards credit. I see the attitude, the access to credit is much improved compared to my generation, for instance. You know, you go onto your phone and you tap 1, 2, 3, and you have money in. And that's okay. The problem is the attitude towards payment. I am very active on social media, and I've seen a lot of young people saying they don't have to pay, or when a loan is written off by the government somewhere, they say, you know, can CRB follow suit and remove me from that list? You know, they don't pay. And that's a problem, because then it messes their credit record and scoring. It then means that loans incrementally are going to be more expensive, and it's going to affect them. I have a problem that they don't seem to realize, that it's going to affect them in the future, because credit, record is important everywhere in the world.
Right.
So I don't know, maybe you can have a show later in that regard. But there is a problem there. My generation pay loans. The younger people
are not paying loans.
No, and it's going to affect everyone.
The question is right there for you. We asked earlier on, is it hard or difficult to own a home in Kenya? Is it easy to own a home in Kenya? Find us at K24 on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Text us on 21222, but most importantly, you can call us on the numbers on your screen, especially if you're a homeowner. Tafadhali, tuchanue sisi wenye hatujanunua manyumba bado. How easy or difficult is it to own that home that you own right now? Are you from the old generation that Salline is talking about here, where you got mature generation, that she's talking about, that pays their mortgages and so on and so forth? Or are you my peer, and you're thinking, mimi manze zile madeni niko nazo from HELB to God knows what, mimi naona tu nikirent for the rest of my life. I want to hear that from you, so that we can try and see if we can actually rope in the government in that conversation. And Martin, let me ask you this question. She says that the young guys, us now, we are our mentality in terms of payment is, and I agree, because I do have friends who owe millions, or rather not millions, but thousands of shillings to all these mobile apps, and wanasema mimi nimechange number na sitaki kulipa hiyo deni. Where is the problem as far as this is concerned? Because if that is our mentality, then that means we will never mortgage, and chances are then in that situation we might never own homes.
You see, the cost of living keeps growing high. Keeps going up. Every time it goes up. And on the other side, the level of income keeps going down.
Yeah.
It's amazing that people own homes in Kenya, because it's less than 100,000 people in Kenya who are earning over 100,000 shillings every month.
Are you serious? 100,000 Kenyans earning over 100,000 Kenya shillings?
Yes. Yes.
Where?
So you can tell you, our buying power is very low. Actually, I think we need to grow the economy. So that now people can have that buying power.
Yeah.
Because people want to, there's nothing wrong with you owning a home. Actually, everybody wants to. The young people have resigned to living in rented houses.
Yeah.
Because it's not because they want to, but if you look at those processes and how much they are going to cost you, and they're tedious. You just give up.
Yes.
You say liwalo, as in you are done.
Yeah.
So come to 50, you go back to the village, and you've seen these stories even with the older generation.
Yeah. Actually, a lot of guys are going back to live with their parents because they do not have homes of their own.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Like you said, when he was growing up in Moja, then you'll find they were probably paying 1,500, 2,000 shillings.
Okay.
The same you cannot, because for you to own an affordable house, you're not supposed to spend more than 30% of your disposable income.
Let's take a call from Joshua Mutinda from Kirinyaga. Joshua, good morning. Joshua, hello.
Morning, Duvie.
How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing well. How about you?
I'm quite fine. What is your question or comment as far as home ownership is concerned?
Now, to the question of the day, how easy or difficult it is to own a home in Kenya?
Yes.
It is very difficult to own a home in Kenya.
How so?
You realize that there are basically two, or should I say three ways of acquiring a home in our country.
Okay.
Number one is through acquisition, monetary acquisition. That's where you buy in cash.
Yes.
Number two is where you acquire a home through a mortgage situation.
Yes.
And the third one is in Kenya, we've seen people win homes through Bahati Nasibu and raffles.
Yes.
But the main reasons why it's difficult to own homes in Kenya is number one, of course, poverty.
Yes.
You realize majority of Kenyans are poor.
Very true.
They are poor because most of them are either jobless,
Right.
and those who have jobs, they have jobs that are so insecure and the incomes are small.
Right.
And again, there are a lot of insecurities in the jobs that we own, such that they do not guarantee you a mortgage facility.
Right.
Number two, we have a situation in our country whereby corruption money which has been used in terms of money laundering, that money has been channeled towards the real estate industry.
Yes.
And it has made acquisition of home very expensive in our country, such that unless you have abnormal huge sums of money, you are not able to own a home. And finally, with the cost of building a house in Kenya, even if you have a piece of land, for those who may have maybe gotten some land in form of inheritance, the cost of building a house in Kenya is so costly because of our dwindling economy. So that's why you realize that most of the young people like me and you have changed their priorities. You decide that if I have my 700K, I would rather go buy my sub instead of buying a plot for 2 million, and then that plot stays there for another 5 years as I look for money to construct it. Thank you very much, Mbuvi.
Thank you very much, Joshua from Kirinyaga. And he has mentioned two things there that I have picked up. Corruption is one of them, and that is why he's saying the economy has been messed up. But then again, the economy is designed in a certain way that we are not able to, make enough monies to, own property, whether it's a vehicle, whether it's a car, and so on and so forth. Now, looking at that, the way the economy has been set up, hata mshahara zetu in general, venye ziko set up, you find that you only have enough money to last you from the first day of the month
15th
to the
to the 25th, then you borrow.
the 25th of the month. Like literally at the end of the month, people are borrowing money. I have friends who call me on the 20th, manze buda niaje, niokole 5,000, I'll pay you end month. Now I'm imagining if they are borrowing me, chances are they've already exhausted, the mobile apps. What is wrong with the economy now, apart from being realistic? What is wrong with the economy?
I'll also be calling you on the 25th.
Yeah.
You want to call me? You have money.
Don't call me, please. Mimi sina pesa ya kupeana. But what is wrong with the economy?
No, you see, Joshua has put it very well. I think what has happened, and it's about income, and I think we've said here on the panel, there's an issue of low incomes, and that has to be raised. Because the threshold of how low the cost can come is still higher than our levels of income. That's number one. Number two, given geographically where Kenya is and the kind of action that is around Kenya, the proliferation of illicit money coming here, most of them that has come here is what has driven some of our property prices. This is true. Because if you look at some of our prices...
Illicit money?
Yeah, because you see like now, Upper Hill is 800 million an acre. I mean, what is that?
800 million.
That's almost the cost of $8 million. That's almost the price of land in Manhattan.
This is true.
So
Upper Hill,
Westland is 400 million. Eastleigh is about 400 million an acre. So those kind of prices are ridiculous.
Okay.
But it's a supply and demand. So somebody has hot money, they don't care how much it is. Now, the fact that they've been driven that up, that's why people are going further and further. People take 2 hours to come to Nairobi and 2 hours back.
Because of traffic?
No, not traffic, because they have to be very far.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because the affordable land now is Kajiado on your way to Namanga. Yeah, in Namanga, so that side. Because the land here has been pushed up by other factors. So those two factors put together, again, just aggravates this problem.
Yes.
But whereas we cannot do much about that, what we can do is, because what will happen as the supply increases, because if you walk around Kilimani, Upper Hill, you'll see there's so much stock that has been put in, but doesn't have anyone.
Now, we have someone calling from Thika. Yes. Probably it's one of those guys who work in Thika, or rather live in Thika and works in Nairobi. Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you doing, sir?
I'm very well.
So, Patrick, tell me, what's your question or comment as far as home ownership is concerned?
Now, leave alone even home ownership. Hata kulipa rent peke yake ni ngumu bwana.
Ni ngumu sana.
Wacha hata sasa kununua nyumba. Even just paying rent is very hard. Because you see what has happened,
Yeah.
Unlike in other countries where the government control land and everything else, like in the United States, you find that government is in charge of land ownership.
Yes.
But sasa hapa tumeachia cartels. Mtu ananunua 1,000 acres, then everybody else is left at the mercy of the price they set.
Yes.
That is why you find the prices are escalating.
Yes.
To the roof.
Thank you very much,
now,
Patrick.
in regards to home ownership,
yes.
Now I think also the buying power is also an issue because you find 80% of the businesses in Kenya is owned by SME. The employed people are very few, so the buying power is down to earth.
All right. Thank you very much, Patrick, for that. Okay. Patrick has said that kulipa rent ni noma.
Yeah.
Yeah. Probably for builders and co-creators. What do you have to say about that?
Well, he's right. Kulipa rent ni noma.
Yes.
But I'd like to sort of extend the argument that he started on the gentleman from Kirinyaga
Yes.
mentioned something about illicit
Joshua.
money and all.
Joshua.
While there's little that you and I can do about that, I
Right.
think the other thing that maybe hampers home ownership is the timing. At what point in our life do we realize, do young people realize that what I save now could be towards home ownership? If I knew then what I know now,
Yes.
I probably would have finished paying my mortgage today. You know, we start to work at 25, thereabout. Maybe we are doing a job that's paying us, what, 40,000, 30,000 shillings. But we don't realize that there could be a 5,000 shillings there that could already be going
In terms
into
of
home
saving.
ownership in terms of
Just
saving.
hold on to that because we have a Gladys from Thika as well. Gladys, good morning.
Okay.
Good morning.
How are you doing?
I'm doing well. I want to contribute on the issue of buying houses.
Please do.
One,
Yes.
Kenyan employees have very low salary.
Okay.
Two, job insecurity.
Okay.
These days you can't know how long, whether you are going to take 30 years in an office.
Right.
The other one is the deposit.
The deposit.
Very few people would manage to raise the deposits that are required, including insurances.
Yes.
And while interest rates are a little bit high, the maintenance of the houses
Yes.
and the insurance
Yes.
is a big issue.
Okay.
I know I own a house,
Okay.
but even in house ownership, it's not easy also to insure that house,
Yes.
have somebody to clear the bushes and whatever, and even pay the rad rate. So I think there is a lot to discuss on owning a home in Kenya.
All right. Thank you very much, Gladys.
Thank you.
Okay. We'll take a short break. And then when we come back, we'll address what Gladys has said. We shall obviously also address what the other gentleman said in terms of, the rent and the cartels and the illicit money and so on and so forth. Remember, the question of the day is, how easy is it to own a home in Kenya? Kindly let us know through our social media pages, and we shall definitely get to you on that. A couple of questions as well coming through Twitter. We shall be checking that in a few, so usiende mbali na sisi.